What is going on, guys? It is Steven, your semi-comprehensive reviewer here, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the PlayStation VR2 virtual reality headset. This is Sony's second attempt at making a VR headset after the pretty successful PlayStation VR1, but since then we've gotten a new console, we've gotten a lot more competition in the VR gaming space, we've gotten better displays, better tracking, more features, and more people now than ever are interested in gaming in VR. So this headset has a lot to live up to, and it brings its own unique experience to the table. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that experience and find out how good the PlayStation VR2 actually is. In the box, we have the PlayStation VR2 with its pre-attached cable, two PlayStation VR2 Sense controllers, a USB A2C charging cable, earbuds, and paperwork. PlayStation VR2 also comes in a bundle package with Horizon Call the Mountain included, and I would recommend picking up this bundle package as Horizon is a pretty good game and also does a really good job of introducing you to all the new features of the PlayStation VR2, and at the moment it's kind of the only exclusive game for the PlayStation VR2 as well. I really love the design they went for with this headset. It has a very PlayStation 5 look about it. If you had showed this to me 2 years ago before the PlayStation VR2 was announced, I probably would have guessed it was for the PlayStation 5 just based off of how it looks. It kind of looks like if you threw a Meta Quest 2, a PlayStation 5, and a original PlayStation VR headset into a blender. The controllers have a similar design with a white and black color scheme with this new ring around the outside. When you take your PlayStation VR2 out of the box, setup is really easy. You just grab your USB-C cable, which is permanently attached on the headset itself, which is annoying. I really wish you could detach this. It's a long enough cable, but I can easily see this getting pulled on and damaged over time. But you basically take that cable, and then you plug the USB-C end of it into your PlayStation 5 console. It'll automatically come up with a firmware update for your headset. Install that and it'll guide you through some basic setup, and then you are ready to put your headset on. Now at first the PlayStation VR2 felt really uncomfortable on my head, and that's just because there's so many different ways you can adjust this headset. The easiest way to put it on is to press the button on the mask piece and the button on the back of the headband and just slide the two pieces out. That'll stretch the headset out like this, and then you just place it over your head, slide those two pieces back in place, and then you can use this dial on the back of the headband to slowly tighten the headset into place until it feels comfortable. And if you over tighten it on accident, you just press the button in the middle and that'll loosen it again. You can go back to tightening. So once this headset is adjusted on your head, it feels really comfortable. It's really light, and that's partially because a lot of the processing power is done in the PlayStation 5 console itself. But it also feels really good because of how it sits on your head when you're wearing it. A lot of VR headsets are like scuba masks, so a lot of the pressure is put around your eye and nose area. But this headset puts all of that weight and tension and pressure in this headband piece here. And there's enough padding around that headband piece where it feels comfortable on your forehead and the back of your head. So the mask piece basically just floats in front of your eyes, so there's no pressure or tension around your eye or nose area. And honestly, I could wear this headset for hours on end without it getting uncomfortable. Around the eye area, we have this rubber accordion piece, which does a really good job of sealing around your eyes and blocking out all light that's coming in. One of the areas that always has light bleed on VR headsets is around the nose area, but this headset has these segmented flaps that go around your nose and do a really good job of just sealing that area off. So this shroud, in addition to the OLED display that this headset uses, makes it so that when you are in a dark area in-game, it is really just pitch black. Now the rubber material that's used doesn't feel too durable. I do feel like this could get punctured and worn out over time. Same goes for the rest of the headset. It feels plasticky, but pretty durable. It's kind of deceiving because it is so light, but I do feel like this would withstand a few drops or bumps. The rubber pieces that are used, like I said, are really comfortable, but they are kind of separating a little bit. They feel firm and in place, but I can easily see these getting separated and falling out over time. The material itself used around the headband is extremely comfortable. It's soft, but it does a really good job of not absorbing sweat or other face gunk, and it has the same little PlayStation icon pattern that all the other PlayStation accessories have. If we take a quick little tour of the headset, on the top of the mask piece, we have that button for moving the actual piece back and forth. This is great for adjusting the headset, but it's also really good for if you are a glasses user. It allows for enough space between the lenses and your glasses without having to use a glasses spacer. On the other side of that, we have a dial for adjusting the width of the lenses. On the bottom of the mask piece, we have a microphone cutout, a power button, and a pass-through button. I kind of do wish that they had maybe added a texture or a different kind of shape to the pass-through button, because you will be pressing that a lot, and it feels a lot like the microphone cutout and the power button. Side note, it also does look like you're picking your nose when you press the pass-through button, which is kind of funny. If we move around to the back of the headset, we have that button for adjusting the width of the headband, as well as the dial for adjusting the tension. On the bottom of the headband, we have a 3.5mm jack port for audio, and on the side, we get some holders for the earbuds. So after you've adjusted the headset to your face, it'll take you right to the PlayStation 5 menu. This looks exactly like the regular PlayStation 5 menu, but in VR. I kind of wish they gave you some kind of game demo that introduced you to the new features of the PlayStation VR. Kind of like Astro's Playroom for the regular PlayStation 5. But we don't really get that here. We kind of just have to figure it out in-game. But once we are in-game, the experience is incredible. I mainly used Horizon Call of the Mountain for testing because it came included and it's made for the PlayStation VR. And the experience in-game is just amazing. It's probably one of the best gaming experiences I've had in VR. Performance-wise, it's great, but the best part is the PlayStation 5 doesn't even break a sweat when it's running PSVR2 games. I didn't hear any fans running or moaning noises. It was extremely quiet and not even noticeable when I was running a VR game, which is extremely impressive because of the quality you get on this headset. We get a 2000 by 2040 pixel per eye display. It is a 120 Hz HDR OLED display with an 110-degree field of view. So we're getting a much larger viewing area at a much higher quality than the original PlayStation VR and higher than a lot of other VR gaming headsets on the market right now. And as you can imagine, the display itself looks amazing, especially in Horizon, which was built for this display. The quality is great. There's virtually no screen door effect. The colors pop. The blacks are really deep because of that OLED display. All of these work together to create this amazing experience for your eyes. Now, one of the big new features I was excited for on this headset was the eye tracking. So this headset has the ability to track your eyes and know where you are looking. There was a demo for it during the initial setup where it had you look at dots around the screen to kind of calibrate it to your eyes. And it's just one of those moments where you go, we are living in the future. It's just so trippy to look at something and have the headset know you're looking at it and select it. And it's really a feature I wish that the PlayStation VR2 took more advantage of. Horizon uses eye tracking, but not to the extent that I would have liked. Like, we can use it in chat dialogue situations and in the pause menu, which by default makes Horizon's pause menu the coolest in gaming right now. However, besides that, it's not really used much in Horizon, and other games right now aren't really taking advantage of it either. Now, this is a very new feature still, and I'm sure more games will take advantage of this in the future, but it would have been nice to see a launch game use eye tracking to its full potential. Like, could you imagine a horror game where you can't look at the monster or the person that's chasing you, and if you do, it jump scares you? Or like a Superman-like game where you're like shooting lasers out of your eyes and you aim with your eyeballs? If we had more games that really took advantage of eye tracking, I feel like a lot more people would be talking about this headset and rushing out to get it right now. Now, something that is taking advantage of the eye tracking at the moment is a feature called foveated rendering. And if you didn't know what that is, it is basically the ability for a game to only render the areas where you are looking. So this is used a lot in Horizon Call of the Mountain, and you never even notice it when you're in-game. Like, whatever you're looking at is fully rendered. It's one of those things I didn't even think was turned on, because I never looked at something and had it not rendered. Looking back at the recordings, you can clearly see that areas of the screen are rendered where I'm looking, and areas where I'm not looking are really fuzzy and blurry. It's really crazy. Now, while your eyes are going to have a really great time in this headset, your ears are not going to have the same experience. The main audio solution PlayStation gives us is this pair of wired earbuds, and these sound decent. They don't really block out noise that well, and they don't provide 3D audio, which is a huge feature on the PlayStation 5 and definitely adds to the immersion of the PlayStation VR2 if you have a 3D audio enabled headset, which I have right here. This is the Pulse 3D wireless headset. I have reviewed this on this channel. This is the headset that Sony makes specifically for the PlayStation 5 for 3D audio. It fits nicely over the PlayStation VR2 headset. It stayed on when I was using it, and it just provides a better audio experience. There are other options when it comes to 3D audio. A lot of newer USB wireless headsets do support 3D audio, although results will vary as to how well they will fit over the PlayStation VR2 headset and stay on your head. Let's talk about the controllers. These are a massive improvement over the PlayStation VR 1 controllers. If you remember, those used basically repurposed PlayStation Move controllers, which were basically discount Wii remotes, so we now get the PlayStation VR2 Sense controllers. These are completely redesigned specifically for the PlayStation VR2, and they feel amazing in the hands. I have relatively larger hands, and they feel really good in these controllers. They feel thinner than most VR controllers, kind of like a door handle or maybe like a handlebar on a bike or something like that. But they just feel really good to grip onto and hold. Functionally, they act like if you split a DualSense controller in half. So we get 2 buttons, a joystick, PlayStation button, option button, and 2 triggers on each of these controllers. The triggers have haptic feedback and the buttons have capacitive touch, so they know when your fingers are resting on them. So in a game like Horizon, when you put your fingers on certain buttons, it'll have you do different gestures with your hands. One thing I don't really like about these controllers is where the strap is. The strap itself is nice, it's easy to adjust and fairly easy to put on, but when you let the controller hang down from your wrist, it puts it at this side angle that can be kind of difficult to grab back onto when you have the headset on your head. Let me just compare the PlayStation VR2 controller to the MetaQuest 2 controller. So you can see here with the MetaQuest controller, its strap is on the base. So when it hangs down from your wrist, it's already oriented in the correct position when you grab onto it. Maybe you have to flip it around to get your fingers on the buttons, but beyond that, there's not really much orienting you have to do with this controller. With the PlayStation VR2 controller, when it hangs down from our wrist, it's in this sideways position, and we also have the ring, which can be kind of confusing. So when you go to reach down, you're really not sure if you're grabbing it from the front or back or sideways or upside down, and it can take almost a minute to get your hand back on the controller. And it's not a huge deal, it's definitely more of a minor inconvenience, but it's just something I had to deal with a lot when using this headset. I'm sure if I used it 30,000 times, I would get used to the position of the controller, but just using it the 20 or so times I did during testing, it was definitely annoying. Now these controllers are rechargeable, which is awesome. However, their battery life is only 4 hours, which is not awesome. I never game in VR for more than 4 hours, so I've never killed these on a full charge. However, I would have liked it if they had lasted for more than one play session. As it is right now, I do have to charge them up after every time I finish gaming in VR, which can be annoying because we only get one USB-C cable. Sony does offer a charging cradle option, which is pretty appealing. It's not too expensive, and if you game a lot in VR and you want the convenience of having the ability to just drop them in a cradle and have them charge, I would definitely recommend going for that. However, I would have preferred a longer battery life. I know I kind of talked about all the things that are wrong with this controller, but truthfully, these are the most comfortable VR controllers I've used. So as it stands in this point in the video, if I had to rate this headset on a scale of 1 to 10, I would easily give it an 8. 9 out of 10. We have a great display, we have great colors, we have great features, we have great controllers. It's just an overall great experience. But what are you most likely going to buy a VR gaming headset for? Most likely for gaming. And unfortunately at the moment we don't really get a big game library for the PlayStation VR2. There's a reason why I mainly gamed in Horizon, and that's because it's really the only original game for the PlayStation VR2 at the moment. And compared to the PC and MetaQuest 2's library, it's really small. So even though you're getting a great experience when you are in game, the games you get that experience in are extremely limited. As of right now, the library mainly consists of ported over MetaQuest and PC VR titles, some PlayStation VR1 games, although not all of them have been ported over, and the games that have been ported over, we have to pay for again. And then we also get some VR add-ons in games like No Man's Sky and Gran Turismo. Now this headset just released, so it does not have the advantage of having years and years of games in its library like PC and the MetaQuest 2. However, I would have liked to have seen more original first-party titles for the PlayStation VR 2, even if Sony had announced some to come out in the next year. We just don't really get that. We get Horizon, which is a great game, but it's not a console or headset selling game. Like, it demos the features of this headset really nicely. It looks great. It's a beautiful looking game. It runs very smoothly, and it's a fun overall experience. But could you imagine how well this would sell if we got a Spider-Man VR or God of War VR or an original VR title that took more advantage of the features of this headset? Eye tracking. I break the target audience for this headset down into 3 groups. We have the VR novices, people who are just looking to get into VR gaming. We have the PlayStation 5 owners, and we have professional VR gamers. So if we start with the first category, the VR novices, they're not going to go out and purchase a $500 PlayStation console, a $500 headset, and spend even more money on games just to try out VR. There's so many better options on the market right now, like the MetaQuest 2, that are much easier to set up. They have much larger game catalogs. They do other stuff besides just gaming, like you can attend VR Zoom meetings and watch videos in VR on the MetaQuest. So as far as features and even user friendliness, the MetaQuest 2 at the moment is a lot better for people looking to get into VR. Now, if you're a PlayStation 5 owner, it's a way more viable option. You already have the hardware needed to run this headset, and it's really just a matter of how good of a VR experience you want. Like, if you just want to get into VR and you want a lot of games to mess around with, the MetaQuest 2 is still a really good option, but if you want the best possible experience in VR right now for only like $100 more, then go with the PlayStation VR 2 and just wait for games to come out. And then lastly, if you are a pro VR gamer and you always need to have the latest, greatest headset, well, This is pretty much it right here. This is the latest and the greatest. It really rivals all of the different options we have for PC VR at a fraction of the cost. And if you enjoy gaming in VR, this is going to be the best option for you right here. So for me, the reason I got this headset is so I could review it, but also because I am confident that Sony will release more titles in the future for the PlayStation VR2. However, if I were to recommend a VR headset to someone right now to try out VR, even if they are a PlayStation 5 user, I would probably lean towards the Meta Quest 2, simply because it has a larger game library and is a little bit more friendly to people looking to get into VR. But if we wait maybe a year or two for a few more games to come out for the PlayStation VR 2, maybe some more games to be ported over from PC and from the Meta Quest, then I can easily see this being the best VR gaming headset. Let me know in the comments if you already have a PlayStation VR 2, and if you don't already have one, let me know if you are interested in purchasing one. And if not, let me know what VR headset you are interested in getting or which one you already have. Other than that, I've been Steven, your semi-comprehensive reviewer, and be sure to have a wonderful rest of your day.